Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the sixth day of the third year of the New Earth Summit, India's first integrative summit on solutions to our problems in health, food, farming, and environment. I am Daryl D'Souza, founder of Earth Keepers Connect, your host this evening, also the convener of the New Earth Summit. And I extend a warm welcome to our esteemed panelists and to our audience, also on behalf of our 10 Earthkeeper groups in India and overseas. We express our gratitude to you for taking out time from your busy schedules to be with us today and to share your insights and experience so that all watching this live webinar and its recording later may benefit from the holistic science and wisdom being shared on this platform that will help us all co-create a beautiful world. Our topic for today is healing mental stress of the pandemic. So I will start with introducing our panelists to the audience. Ellaeenah Niloufer is a spiritual mentor and counselor, teacher of cosmic wisdom and meditation, writer, and emotional health facilitator. She is also a Bach flower therapist and a certified Ho'oponopono practitioner. Her aim is to help free children and adults from patterns of living that cause conflict and strain and create disease. Her personal work with clients who are spread all over the globe consists of talk, therapy, and body therapy using crystals, sound, music, meditation, Ho'oponopono, and Bach flower remedies. Transformation, empowerment, and awakening of the collective consciousness are the three pillars of her work. Ellaeenah has written an ebook entitled And Jade Fire Said. She's also co-authored a book, Bark to a Healthy Life, on Bach flower remedies, available at Amazon Kindle. And she has channeled a set of divination cards. Her website is jadefirelight.com and her YouTube channel is Ellaeenah Jadefire. Our next panelist, Dr. Kapla Govekar, is a psychiatrist and counselor with 10 years of clinical experience. She has trained at the National Institute of Mental Health and Neurosciences in Bangalore and also at the Institute of Psychiatry and Human Behavior in Goa. Her treatment and psychotherapy approach is holistic, laying emphasis on empowerment of the person. She is committed to spreading mental health awareness and fighting against mental health stigma. Dr. Kapla believes that everyone should make their mental and emotional health a priority. She is passionate about personal growth and development and believes that everyone should evolve into the best version of themselves. Her other interests include reading, painting, photography, and writing. Our third panelist, Dr. Rupa Shah, and her husband, Dr. Shah, are pioneers in developing and researching Indian flower remedies since 35 years, and they are made from flowers grown in India. She is passionate about inspiring families eat together and connect with local and seasonal foods. Dr. Rupa founded and curated India's first vegan business event, Global Vegan Business Expo 2020. She launched India's first vegan print publication titled Compassion India in 2018. Dr. Shah also co-founded and curated India's first annual vegan festival series since the Ahimsa Fest of 2016, the Ahimsa Festival 2017, and One Earth Festival in 2018. She is the founder of Circle of Health and has enabled patients reverse their lifestyle-related diseases like diabetes, high blood pressure, thyroid, and autoimmune disorders over the last 35 years. As an MBBS based in Mumbai, she speaks about the importance of holistic health around the world. Dr. Rupa Shah is also the best-selling author of two books, Dairy Alternatives and What About My Calcium? So, in the first half of this webinar, I have a couple of questions for our panelists, which will be followed by Q&A with the audience at 7 p.m. The audience may type their questions in the Q&A box below after each panelist speaks, and I will take those questions at 7 p.m. If you would like to receive the recorded version of this webinar, or if you want to share it with others, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, The New Earth Summit. Now moving on to our questions for the panelists. Ellaeenah, could you first please share with us what kind of trauma your clients have been going through during this time of the pandemic and how you help them?
So before I start, Daryl, thank you very, very much for inviting me here. It's a joy to be here on such a wonderful webinar. About the traumas, of course, there is the physical trauma of actual illness and the COVID, but beyond that is the very real trauma of having lost someone, of grief, of the fear of separation, fear and anxiety of, let us say, losing one's job, financial difficulties. There are so many who live in small apartments and have to, the mother works, father works, the two children are in school, so to speak, online school. I actually know a client of mine who used to work in the bathroom because there was no space for her, because every room was taken by someone. So these are very traumatic. And the reason, you see, if this had gone on for 10 days, 20 days, maybe even 4 or 5 months, it wouldn't have been traumatic. It would have been stressful, yes, but not traumatic. The trauma aspect comes in because this pandemic and the lockdown lasted for so long. And yes, now many countries are slowly emerging out of the lockdown, but the effects that people have gone through are really long lasting. Of course, there have been some really positive changes as well, because a lot of people have suddenly realized out of their trauma that our life can be far simpler than it was earlier. They've suddenly realized what and who is really meaningful in their lives. So that has definitely been a positive aspect. But by and large, finance, relationship, sickness of self and your loved ones, and grief and loss have been the 4 traumas that people have primarily gone through. For me, to help people out, the first thing I do is to talk to them. When someone's going through a trauma like this, one has to bring things down to a very real level. Because when you and I are going through a trauma, we build it up in our minds. And I had to kind of gently bring them back to a very real level, that this is not happening only to you, it's global. Let's look at it from a realistic point of view. Let's not go into self-victimizing mode. So talk therapy was very, very important. Bark flower therapy has been invaluable in these last 2 years, far more than in any of the years that I have been as a bark flower therapist. Because bark flower is a remedy for emotional problems. And all these traumas were emotional, mental. So Bakfla has been huge. And that has been for children, for adults, for aged people, for everyone across the board. I can't tell you the number of doctors and medical people who have reached out to say, we need help to stabilize ourselves while we are going through the pandemic and helping others. What has also helped people a lot, especially in times of grief, has been, interestingly, and this may sound paradoxical, but a gratitude exercise that I would put them through. So, yes, they have lost the person, but I would help them to go through and relive the happy moments that they shared with this person, the happy years, and to be grateful that they had so many happy times with the person that they have lost. So, a combination of these three things have definitely helped.
Thank you, Ellaeenah. I would like to ask Dr. Kalpa, how have your patients been, suffering in this pandemic, and what have you done to, address all their issues?
So, Daryl, during the pandemic since 2020, we saw almost a 50% rise in mental and emotional health issues. And the cases that I saw as a psychiatrist, maximum were that of anxiety and panic, because the pandemic put so much of fear and uncertainty in everybody's mind. When the pandemic first hit, we really did not know anything. We didn't even know about what it is. Forget about how long it will last and all that. So people were taken unawares, and there was a lot of fear, anxiety, panic. Then the other type of cases were depression, because of social isolation due to the lockdown. And of course, like Ellaeenah said, the grief and loss when people started losing their loved ones to the COVID-19 pandemic. And we also saw a lot of substance abuse, increase in substance abuse. People who were already having, say, the addiction of smoking or drinking, it increased manifold. Also, a lot of interpersonal issues. People started having marital conflicts, and a lot of marriages broke down, and also fair number of suicidal cases. People were just not able to cope up, and they were feeling like giving up on their lives. So in general, I would say all the type of cases increased, but particularly this that I have mentioned. And what helped them is talk therapy, letting them vent out how to overcome. I mean, letting them vent out what they have gone through, and also giving them very simple tools and techniques that they can use in their day-to-day life to overcome the sudden fear, the sudden grief, the depression. Um, and as well as, like Ellaeenah said, to make them aware that this is a global pandemic. Like, it is not only happening to them, it is happening to everybody. And how we should step up, and instead of just focusing on ourselves, maybe do some small acts of kindness, see how you can help other people, and be grateful. And even in the times of pandemic, try to find the silver lining, and how to stay connected with other people, even though there was a lockdown, even though everybody was separated, still trying to find some kind of connection, foster those friendships. And the people who were suffering, like from severe mental and emotional health issues, they had to be restarted on medications. But most of it was basically talk therapy and giving simple mental and emotional health tips and strategies.
Thank you, Dr. Kalpa. Dr. Rupa, could you please share with us how you have been managing your patients.
So when the lockdown was announced and said that this is COVID-19, the first and foremost what as a doctor I did was to what is it all about? What is the virus about? What does it do? You know, is it really that deadly, or it's like not the virus but more is the fear of the virus or fear mongering, that is created. So they're like at various levels things were happening. From the education itself, I have been concluding that it's not about the germ, it's about who you are, how healthy you are. That's going to keep you healthy. So my focus has never been on the germ or virus or a bacteria. So all the time, I have been telling people that disease doesn't come from outside. You prepare the soil, you are the suitable person, then you will get it. So why not focus on becoming healthy? And if you are not so healthy, let's start now. Now is the time. So counseling all my patients who were diabetes or who had high blood pressure or obesity, from the observation, it was found that these people were more vulnerable to get the infection or the COVID. So I said, so now why not reverse these diseases and not become the suitable soil for the disease. Now, the only way to liberate yourself is by becoming healthy. If you are healthy, you are very focused, you are very clear, and you are empowered, and you do not know that something comes from outside and attacks me. It just can't be that tiny little virus flies all over and it's just going to get you and kill you or something. It's not like that. It can't be so. So bring back the focus about holistic health, which is mind, emotions, and physical body. Of course, the spiritual part of it. So I remain focused in all these four aspects of it, and then get yourself healthy at all levels. For every question that they asked, we sat and discussed. Oh, will I get this? They were into washing mania, lots of over sanitization, cleaning up the house. Some of my patients were literally keeping the boxes outside for a day, 24 hours. Then they will bring it in the house. They will wash the vegetables in soap waters. And some of our friends were so afraid they would only open this much of their door. The bag is hanging outside. They'll quickly take it inside. They'll sanitize it quite a lot. This is the kind of things that were going on. So I also know the patients who the husband and wife will not sleep in the same room, because what if we get infected? If one of us get infected, the second one should be saved. So they slept in separate rooms for months and months. I know of a family where son and mother did not meet each other in the same household for months. They were all sleeping in the separate room. He was just so afraid that mother will get it, or all kinds of. So all these patients with different stories, fear of disease, fear of medication, fear that there'll be no oxygen available, panic, what media tells. Then there's fungal infection that came in. A friend's mother had a jaw removed, whether I will get it or not. Or as soon as a celebrity will die from heart attack, there would be sudden flutter, oh, I'm getting chest pain, maybe I'll get it. All these are the kind of things. Insomnia, antidepressants, post vaccination also, there were many patients I've seen who had stroke or heart attack, or also insomnia or depression or obesity. So all this, now I do not separate the two, the COVID-19 disease itself, neither the vaccination. All of them finally are the part of the same thing, that we are vulnerable. If we are not healthy, we are inviting them. If we are healthy, then we are not inviting them. And being healthy is not about just the body, it's also about emotionally being very calm, patient, clear, focused, not getting influenced by just what media is throwing at us, but using our own mind. Like, I had a relative visiting from the US, and he was into double masking. Double mask. I said, but double mask for what? So I took him for a walk to where I live, and there were lots of people on the road. We call them as those who make, the garlands and Wagri tribe. There were 50 of them just sitting on the road, eating, chatting, no mask, nothing. I said, look from where you come and look where they are. And they don't get it. The person from my house who is, taking the garbage every day, I usually asking almost on a weekly basis, is anyone around you is infected, has got anything? He's can no, nothing in my column. I mean, he's in the garbage and he's doing all this work all the time. He doesn't get it. So we have to reorganize our perspective and let's not our mind get completely influenced by the stories that the media tell us. Nonetheless, I know my own family, half a dozen members have gone through COVID or post-COVID, post-vaccination, post-COVID syndrome, post-vaccination. Also, they got COVID, heart attack, stroke, right in my own dear ones also. So it has come home and I have faced it. I have seen through it. I've looked after them with all the natural remedies, lifestyle, whatever I can, and yet at the same time come back to the center, balance, peace, positive. And let's just say that, okay, now let's focus on not getting it again or not being vulnerable. There is no mistake in the entire system. The disease do not come just like that. There's always a story. The whole system is very transparent. You don't get disease just like that. You're not a victim. There's no victim mentality. We are empowered to look after our own self and choose not to get the disease. And let's focus on that. Let's empower you with the knowledge. That would be my focus always. Flower remedies that I use are, of course, the Indian flower remedies. There are lots of different flowers for strengthening the immune system. So right in the beginning, I said, let's strengthen your immune system so that you are less suitable, for this. Then if you already have it, let's make it, easy for you to go through the entire 14 days. Post-COVID, if you have, other symptoms, let's work on those. If you've taken vaccine, let's help you at that level as well. And if you already got things like stroke or clots or something, let's help you at that level as well. If there are other mental and emotional symptoms, then there are flower remedies to support them as well at that same time. Flower remedies are very simple. They are nature's healing energies. The flowers are not destroyed in the process of making. We only take the healing energy of flower. So the clue is very simple. Look at the nature. Nature is not just surviving, thriving, right? All of us observe, it's thriving. So if nature is alive, vibrant, we are part of that very nature. We are never separate. Those very energies can heal us as well. Let's take it from there. It's gift from nature. Flowers are the best example of that nature's healing energy, which actually heals right up to our soul level, mind and emotions, obviously, and of course the body as well. As there is no separation between physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual or soul level. Everything is exactly the same, and the flowers are like souls of the plant. When we take that very energy in the form of drops, we are taking the message of the flower and installing like a positive program into our system. And then now you will thrive just the way the nature is thriving.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Rupa. And just to get a little more into detail of, from the audience perspective, uh, there are different understandings what people have of, flower remedies. I have mostly been exposed to essential oils. And then when I was talking to you, you told me how, yes, it's true that, the extraction is done by crushing them, taking out the oil and then distilling it and all of that. So the flowers are destroyed in the bargain. But in your method, the flowers are not, destroyed. So now you are sitting in Mumbai, right? And just to give our audience, how your this treatment with flower remedies, what can somebody expect in the duration of a treatment? Do they have to come and visit you physically, or can you do it remotely? Can you tell them which flowers to pick up, or you have a range of flowers in your flower bank or whatever you call it? How does the system
So
treat?
the flower remedies are, of course, not the aromatherapy or not the essential oils. So if you want like 1 kilo of rose oil, you will need 1000 kilo of roses. And there's a distillation process. And then finally, you just get 1 kilo of oil. So, and that oil drops are used in carrier oils, and it works through your physical senses. You get the smell, and then it works on your brain and your nervous system. So it's through the senses. That is aromatherapy. Whereas flower remedies are just the healing energy of flower taken directly from the flowers without cutting any flowers. We just take the healing energy in the water. No flowers are destroyed in the process of making it. We offer prayer to the Deva before starting the process of making the remedy. During the process, also there is a Devic kingdom that's looking after. And at the end of it, there's a thank you note for these healing energies will be used for the healing of the mankind or animal kingdom or the plant kingdom as well. So this is the difference between essential oil or aromatherapies. And here the flower remedies are taken as water based droplets. You just take them orally, or you can spray around in your energy field because it's just the energy. And it works very fast because in the world of energy, in the world of consciousness, everything is happening in an instant. It just happens simultaneously. There is no distance, there's no time really. It happens very fast. So the results, like moment you take the drops or you apply some drops on your chakra points, or there are various marma points or acupuncture points, you can apply all these remedies because they are basically energetic information. They work very quickly. So this is the way we are using the flower remedies in our own clinic. But during the pandemic time, we were challenged by one very unique problem. Right in the first few months, there were no couriers. There was no postal system. I don't know how to send my remedies. And they were not reaching also. And there were patients all over the world. So like there was a very unique case of a lady from London. She traveled to Africa and she was in a very remote area of Africa where she cannot even taste, and she had full COVID symptoms. Now, how do I send her the remedies? So at that time, my husband decided to transfer the healing energy of flower into a laser system that we have, a little laser beam. And he said, call us up on a WhatsApp video call and we will, transfer the energy of the flower through the laser right to you, because we don't know when the remedies will reach you. So this was another very unique that we had to do distant healing, just sending the same energy of the flower, via the laser instrument, and then healing the patients. And within few days, all her symptoms went away. So these were like the gifts of pandemic, I would say, that we had to think out of the box and still help everybody. Somehow help. And finally, consciousness is supreme, ultimately. And whatever remedies that come from this universal space are going to help totally, holistically, and very fast. This is going to be the remedies of future, which is now also, we can use it. And there are no side effects, untoward effects. There's nothing, to worry about. Even if a small child took it, the whole bottle, I can go home and sleep, and I can tell mother, just go to sleep, nothing is going to happen. Because the remedies work pretty much like a key and lock mechanism or a computer program, that if it's correct one, it will be accepted. If it's not correct, it just passes off, because they are just the energetic information. So very safe, very gentle, and very quick in action. So I found that they were very helpful in this time to help people, turn negative very quickly. Within 2, 3, 4 days, the test would come negative, symptoms will go away. This is how it is.
So, Dr. Rupa, when you mentioned the courier, so in that you had to send some of the flowers to them by courier and then tell them how to use it?
Flower remedies are generally liquid bottles.
Okay, liquid bottle.
and they are dropper with the dropper,
Okay.
and we courier them those various formula or sometimes individual flowers, and they can take them orally as we ask them to.
Okay.
3 drops 3 times a day. In an acute condition, sometimes we want to do it every half an hour, 1 dose in diluted in a, say, 1 bottle of water. So sometimes this, see, the most important thing is to sustain the fever. Fever is the body's sign to fight, to detox. The mistakes that the other systems were making was to suppress the fever. As soon as the fever came, there was like panic, go and take dolo or this. That is not the correct. Sustain the fever, let body do the work. So all the natural remedies are assisting in this process. I would tell all my patients, sustain the fever for 3 days, 2 days, 3 days. Just don't worry, don't let it do the work. It's very important. I'm sure fever has come because there's a reason. And this is nature's way of healing. Let's sustain the fever. Or cold and cough. Doesn't matter. Let's assist the process. Don't suppress. Don't take antibiotics. Don't get into panic and take antivirals and try to suppress the illness. Suppressing is not the correct way. Then the disease gets deeper into the system. The toxins remain inside the cells and you can end up into bigger troubles. So the remedies have to be gentle, have to be non-violent, not tested on animals, should not contain any animal products, should not destroy nature, should have eco balance, and should be very much in harmony with the rules of nature.
That's wonderful, Dr. Rupa. And still it's going through my mind. So can you get a flower remedy even leaving the flower on the tree?
Yes, it's always like that. We do not cut the flowers. The flowers. Okay, so let me tell. The flowers are selected on the previous day. That okay, now these flowers are in season for this particular tree. We are going to make the remedy. And so we just pray and say that tomorrow we will be coming and making the remedy. Also, the flower are in which direction they are growing in the tree, like it's north, south. Then sun loving or moon loving. When will be the optimum energy available? Then there's a particular instrument where we just pour the water from the top and collect it below while it passes through, absorbing the energy of the flower. And we do it several times so that the water is now fully saturated with the information of the flower. The water have to be a very special water which is having no other information, because you only don't want any other information. You only want that particular flower. So for example, there is a flower called as Ashok. Ashok in Sanskrit means without grief. The names in the Sanskrit language are very much as per what it does to our mind and emotions. So someone who's gone through loss, death of a dear one, yeah, and that time there's a deep-seated grief, sadness, there's a vacant look in their eyes, and there's no interest in the surrounding or having no connection with the body or your own incarnation or no purpose in life. So Ashoka flower drops, right, taken orally, 3 drops 3 times a day, gently introduces the joyfulness of life. We are not denying the grief, we are accepting it. At the same time, let the soul come back to its essential nature, which is Anand, yeah, which is the bliss, the joyfulness. And it helps one to get aligned. And within a few months, you can stop the remedy because it has done the job. It's not like the allopathic medicines, which you get very dependent or you have more side effects also. And it's only like a shortcut, right? It doesn't cure from the root. The flower remedies are actually going into the very root of the situation and then heals it. So each flower has a very unique message. Each flower has a very unique message, a unique thought, a unique purpose. The way they grow, the color, the petals, the patterns, the way fruit looks, everything has a doctrine of signature or a story. It tells us what it might be good for. There's a lot of information there.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Dr. Rupa, for sharing that with us. It's a very detailed and gentle science from what I could understand. Uh, Dr. Kalpa, I think you have a presentation you wanted to share with the audience. Would you like to do that now?
Yes, I'll do the presentation.
Yes.
Can you see this now?
Yes. Very good.
So let me just quickly run through the presentation. So usually we say that 1 in every 4 people suffer from mental and emotional health issues that are severe enough to receive that would need professional help. But during the pandemic, we saw that it was more than 50%. And the reason why it was happening is because of the uncertainty of the situation, the fear of the pandemic, the media exposure, right? Every day we were hearing something different in the media, and that was creating more panic. And psychosocial issues like death of loved ones, caregiver burden, people had to care for others who had COVID, social isolation, stigma against people who had COVID, and loss of work life balance. And the people who were more affected were the ones who were staying alone, who did not have a good social support system, who faced psychosocial distress of any kind, who already had a pre-existing health condition, whether it was a psychological health condition or medical, both were affected, and the ones who already had stressful lives, especially stressful jobs. This I have already spoken about. Depression, anxiety, substance abuse were seen mostly, along with OCD, interpersonal conflicts, even domestic violence. And can I just share some emotional and mental wellness strategies, like simple ones?
Yes, please do.
Yeah. So proper self-care, this is it's very simple, but it actually aids a lot in our mental and emotional wellness. At least 30 minutes of physical activity, which will release happy hormones in our body and make us feel good. Balanced and nutritious diet, fresh fruits, vegetables, and those who are non-vegetarians can have fish because it's good in omega-3 fatty acids. Staying hydrated, getting adequate sleep and rest. Now in a fast-paced world, we rarely sleep. Sometimes people are just sleeping 2 to 3 hours, which is completely wrong. And proper personal care as well. Practicing self-love and self-compassion. We're so hard on ourselves sometimes, trying to achieve some kind of perfectionist standard. So we need to go easy on ourselves and make sure that we give time to our hobbies and interests. Because a lot of people have given up completely on the things that they love to do, like painting, cooking, doing some craft work, gardening, whatever it is. We need to make sure that we do it at least on a regular basis. Maybe if not every day, at least on the weekends. Also, the joy of learning something new. Whenever we learn something new, we immerse ourselves in that activity, whether it's a new language or a new instrument or any other new skill. And also, sometimes we can indulge in self-pampering, go for a spa, have a good face mask, or do or whatever else you want to do. See a movie.
Yes, I think, during this time of the pandemic, people have really, they've dropped most of these things, including myself, because the last thing that we do before night is we are reading on the mobile, the
Yes,
updates on what's happening and
correct.
this news.
Yes.
And the first thing we get up in the morning, we are doing the same thing. We want to know what scary news is coming in the morning. So I guess those two indicators, it's a bad indicator. Let's tell the audience that if you're going to sleep at night looking at the mobile, getting up in the morning looking at the mobile, definitely, you are not giving time for all of this. Yes,
Absolutely.
please continue. Yes.
So creating a strong support system. Now, like you said, we are only too much into digital world, into mobile and other things, but doing things like watching YouTube videos or watching Netflix, not really connecting with our loved ones. But we need that strong social support because a man is a social animal. So keeping in touch with our family members, forming support groups, And this, thankfully, a lot of support groups were formed during the pandemic, and they're still active, they're still functional. So that's a good thing. Make sure to check on each other and be there for others. Limit social media exposure, because this is the era of information and media overload, and everything is being reported as a sensational news, breaking news, and that is leading to a lot of panic and stress, giving rise to confusion and something known as cognitive dissonance, wherein the mind is very confused and does not know what to believe. And that's a very scary situation. So we need to be very conscious and mindful when we are consuming media. We have to only follow reliable channels, do fact checking, do verification before believing something, do not mindlessly forward, and be very conscious of our reaction to the news and other information that we are getting. Then we have to recognize our circle of control. Everything in our world or everything that is happening in our life is not within our control. So we should only focus on things that are within our control. That is our own mindset, our own thoughts, our own actions. This is within our control. What will happen, how many more strains will come, whether there is going to be another lockdown, what will happen to the economy, what will this one do, what will that one do, that's not within our control. So we should just let it go. Some things we should just leave to the universe and just focus on the things that we can control consciously with our actions. And along with the pandemic came work from home. And initially, people were very happy because they get to work from home. But that had its own problems because there was a loss of workplace as a community. Earlier, people would go to work and there was bonding. It was not only a place where we'd go and make money, but there was so much of bonding. There was connection with other people. So that community was lost. And work-life balance became a problem. People were working throughout the day. So we need to set certain boundaries between our work life and personal life. We can organize and structure our day such that it does not eat into our personal life. And use leaves to rest. Why are we always in a hurry? If our body needs rest, we need to give it rest. Use the weekends to recharge ourselves. This is a just a brief pictorial representation of the wheel of life. So ideally, we need to balance all these things in our life, like different areas, or as much as possible at least. It cannot be we're just focusing on career and neglecting our health. It should not be like that. Or we are only focusing on going out for parties and neglecting our personal development or our spiritual life or our emotional problems. So as much as possible, we need to try and maintain a balance in everything. Because a balanced life is always a happy life. And create a daily routine and stick to it as much as possible. So that gives us the feeling of being in control, being grounded, and increases our productivity. And as much as possible, we should try to maintain fixed time of having meals, of getting up, of sleeping, so that our body gets used to a certain routine. And this is for people who are working from home. We should plan and organize our day so that there is a good balance. Dedicated space for work from home. Do not work do not work from your bed and your dining table and everywhere else. Keep a separate space only for working so that the other areas do not become stressful and do not get associated with work. Then take regular and scheduled breaks. And during these breaks, we need to just get up and move because sitting is not good, prolonged periods of sitting. So in these small breaks, we can do simple breathing exercises, stretching exercises, mindfulness activities, or listening to music, or just looking outside the window. If people, especially people who are staying in Goa, have such beautiful things to look outside. So just take that time to look outside the window and appreciate nature. Then practice gratitude. Ellaeenah mentioned this, and I completely agree that this has been my own practice as well, and I'm reaping so much of benefits of that. So it rewires the brain into thinking positive, experiencing positive emotions, and reducing stress. And also helps us to give that, build that resilience and strength to deal with adversity. And there are various ways. The simplest ways to practice gratitude journaling: write down either early morning or just before going to bed something that you're grateful for. And then, of course, there is gratitude meditation or gratitude jar, like how you can see in this picture. You can put small chits on which you can write what you're grateful for. And as the jar fills up, you realize that there's so much to be grateful for. And find the silver lining. We always need to count our blessings and find the sunny side of life. And it's always there. It's just the perspective which matters. And connect with nature. This has been a game changer even for me. If I don't take my morning walk, then I feel that something is incomplete in my day. So it's a Japanese practice of shrimin yoku, or it is nature bathing or mindfulness nature walks, whatever you want to call it. We need that dose of nature. Like how ma'am, Dr. Rupa mentioned that flowers have healing energies. So every element of nature has healing energies. And when we interact with it, we exchange that life force or prana. And it really is the best cure for physical ailments as well as mental ailments. So early morning nature walks, get some sunshine, get some fresh air, look at the flowers, appreciate its beauty. So if possible, make a small garden at home and uh, bring some greenery and nature into your own life. Then there are various anxiety reducing practices. Any one of these we can adopt. No need to do everything. Whatever suits us, either meditation or yoga or mindfulness or breathing exercises, art therapy, pet therapy, and aromatherapy. Even any one of these practice, or if we can bring into our daily lives, that would greatly reduce our stress and anxiety and help us to cope better. And positive self affirmations, these are just statements which are used to challenge our negative thoughts and our mental blocks by subconscious reprogramming. So just by saying statements which are very affirming, like I am safe and secure, I am strong, I'm surrounded by love, it actually helps us to rewire our brain and help us experience that positive emotions. For somebody who is maybe suffering from any kind of illness, just saying that my mind and body is healing, even that helps a lot. And I have practiced this with my clients, and it has really helped them. And small acts of kindness, when we help others in whatever way we can, we automatically experience positive emotions because it releases happy hormones in our body, leading to satisfaction and contentment, also giving us a sense of purpose. I know so many people during the pandemic who started, NGOs, started support systems, started donating to other people. So they found a lot of purpose in doing these things. And to keep a positive and a hopeful attitude always, because hope is what keeps the whole world going. So we have to keep an attitude of being hopeful and positive, and it can get us through darkest times, whether it is pandemic or anything else. This is just a brief thing. It means that in every situation, we need to analyze what are the strengths of the situation, what are the weaknesses, what are the opportunities it brings us, and what are the threats. So even the pandemic situation actually came with a lot of opportunities. Like the whole world was one global village. We were no longer having these barriers of states and countries. And we then realized, how sitting in Goa, we can connect to somebody in Germany. And we became more connected as a whole. Then, and the last thing that I would like to say, that everybody needs to identify what are the emotional and mental health tips that work for them, because everybody may not respond to the same things. So we need to make something known as our own emotional wellness toolkit. These are tried and tested strategies that work for us. And also, maybe the pandemic was a good time to do some self reflection and gain some self awareness into our own self, like what makes us fulfilled, what is our motivating factor, what do we want to contribute to the society, what are our values and principles, and what is our life vision. A lot of people gave this a thought during the pandemic, and they are now able to steer their life in a much different way and align their life more towards being intentional, being purposeful, and aligning it with their life vision. I've seen a lot of people who quit their 9 to 5 jobs and found happiness, and by starting businesses which are more in alignment with their own self and what they like to do, and they're really happy now and very stress free. So we need to take that leap and maybe step out of our comfort zone. And this last slide that I want to talk about is, when should we take professional help? Now, professional help could be any profession, a psychiatrist, a psychotherapist, or any emotional health coach, or even other individuals who deal with mental and emotional support. But when should we seek help? When we feel that it's the thing, we have tried everything, but it is getting out of hand. So we are constantly feeling low. We are constantly feeling that there is no interest in anything. Unstable moods, crying spells, severe anxiety, severe panic attacks, suicidal thoughts and ideas. Somebody who has increased the substance abuse, not able to sleep despite of trying, severe insomnia. Suddenly, behavioral issues like anger has started coming up. Or if somebody already has a mental health condition and now it is relapsed, then you definitely need to go to your mental health professional and listen to your intuition. Your intuition is always giving you messages. If you intuitively feel that you need to seek support from somebody, we need to go and seek support. And to conclude, I would say that mental health matters and we need to make it a priority. Always. Your mental and emotional health should be your priority. Thank you.
Yes, Dr. Kalpa, thank you very much for that, uh, very detailed presentation. Uh, I hope our audience were taking notes because we would have realized that, through our lives, we would have used some of these things, techniques in between. And right now, we are in such a state of fear that we have forgotten that we used to do, many of these things before. So I hope our audience took notes, or we'll put out this recording sooner so you can, watch it again and remember the things that you used to do earlier, and bring them back into your life to balance. And I just also want to mention in that pictorial view of the balance of life that you showed the different domains through my mind, because I'm going a little more into artistic kind of work, and to use more of art. I just saw at that time a really nice, what we call a mandala, and with all of these things around it, and perhaps some meditation can be done on that. Just looking at it, something beautiful, and looking at those words could reflect, I think, in people. People know intuitively which aspect of their life they have neglected and which is weak, and so just, I think, a mandala meditation. You can perhaps convert that slide into something, wonderful and
That's a nice idea. Yeah, that's a nice idea.
so, yeah, Ellaeenah, could you please share with us, is there any kind of routine that you are advising your clients with stress, if it's something in the morning, if it's a meditation, or if it's, anything that you want to share with us, or even I would also like you, for our audience, for you to explain a little bit what Bach flower therapy is and, how it works.
So the routine that I actually tell them is a very simple one. I just ask them to include all aspects of life in the day. So I ask them to sing or dance or listen to music. I ask them to do a little bit of physical work. So it could be cooking or gardening or dusting. I ask them to, of course, do whatever their professional work is. I ask them to play with children or play with pets. If they are interested in hobbies like art or writing, I ask them to. So instead of saying, I'm going to do this on Thursday, or I'm going to do this over the weekend, I've realized it never comes. But if we plan our day and we say, I'm going to put in even 2 or 3 minutes of this. So 2 activities can be done together. So while I'm cooking, I will hear music and sing along with it. So you see, you can include everything in your day, and by taking the appropriate Bach flower remedies through the day, meditating a bit through the day. I have a huge YouTube channel where my clients go regularly. There are so many meditations, channelings, and talks which they use. So people are stuck in this mindset that there are only 24 hours in a day. And I ask them to look at it as there are 24 hours in a day. I mean, how much can one do in that? So, it's just shifting their focus and, of course, just having someone to talk to. And they don't always need to take a session. Sometimes it's just literally they need to vent. And so they'll send me a WhatsApp. And then at the end, they'll say, Elle, you don't even need to reply if you're busy. I'm just venting because I just needed someone to talk with. So all of this really helps. So what is Bach flower remedy? So Dr. Bach was an Englishman, and he started off as an allopathy doctor, then went on to become the president of the Homeopathy Institute. And he realized that there is something that we are not looking at when we are falling ill. As an allopathic doctor, he realized people keep coming back again and again and again, may not be with the same issue, but today it's a headache, tomorrow it's a backache, third day it's a stomachache. But they are not finding that they are able to live for an extended period of time without some dis-ease or ailment. So he found his answer in homeopathy, which opened his eyes to the fact that nothing on the physical body exists by itself, that everything that exists on the physical body is always a reflection and a projection of our emotional and mental space. And if that emotional and mental space is in balance, in unity, in centeredness, the physical body is actually, the universe has created this physical body not to fall sick. And that's the joy of being a human being. But how many of us really live through that joy? Because our emotions are all over the place. So Dr. Bach then left homeopathy and began his years of research of flower remedies. And very much like what Dr. Rupa discussed, he said we have to be in sync with nature. Nature has all the answers. So he collected the dewdrops from flowers in the morning, and he started experimenting on himself first. And he realized that, oh, when I take this particular flower dewdrop, I feel calm, or my fear disappears, or I start feeling upbeat, or I am open to people, or I feel more forgiving. And he realized, I think I have stumbled upon something big here. And he started growing his flowers, of course, because he was in England. They were flowers from England, but the joy of the world is that now these flowers grow everywhere. And but you don't need to have those flowers. You just need to have the bark remedies, which are easily available everywhere, all over the world, at any kind of a homeopathy pharmacy. And instances like people who are getting very anxious, Dr. Kalpa spoke of that, the anxiety that people have gone through. Just a simple remedy of mimulus. If you need to also add aspirin to it, maybe you could use a paper and pen and write down these few things that I'm going to tell you. So mimulus and aspirin are fabulous bark flower remedies to help you overcome anxiety, to help you overcome fear and insecurity. Then there are people who were just overwhelmed with the pandemic. There was just so much happening. On the one hand, media is telling you something. On the other hand, someone is sending you some other kind of WhatsApp messages. On the third hand, a doctor is telling you that everything that you have read up to now is all utter crap and that it shouldn't be done. And people were going like, we have enough in our homes trying to figure out where to work and how to study. And now we don't even know who and what to believe. If I don't believe a doctor, then who do I believe? And almost every few days, doctors were contradicting each other, or what someone else had said, or what they themselves had said. So there was so much of being overwhelmed by what was going on. And the bark flower remedy for that was elm. It's a fabulous remedy. When you're just feeling too overwhelmed, you take elm and you're just able to completely calm down and let things be. So, okay, if this person is saying something, that's their opinion. If there is an issue, I will be able to deal with it. So it gives you back that confidence in yourself. And when you take elm, if you also take another flower remedy called gentian, Gentian, that gives you faith. It gives you faith in yourself. It gives you faith in the universe that the God who puts you through something will also take you through that. That you are never alone. You are not abandoned. That this too shall pass. So gentian and elm is a fabulous combination. Dr. Rupa spoke of people, and you are so right, Dr. Rupa. People were going crazy about washing their hands and using sanitizers. And I know someone who would leave their Amazon parcels in the boot of the car for 3 days and not bring them up, because only after 3 days that virus would be dead. They were going bananas, and obsessions of this nature were just rising. What I was putting such people on was crab apple. So mimulus, of course, for the fear, but crab apple, it's an amazing bark flower remedy when you just feel scared of something attacking you which is not clean. So whether it's a virus or whether it's someone's touch. I remember a client gave me a call and said, oh my God, Elle, I just realized I spoke to one courier and his mask was down. And I said, okay, and how long did you speak to the courier? No, no, just for a few seconds till I took the parcel, but she had become crazy. She said, should I just take that sanitizer and apply? I said, do not do that. There is no need to apply it on your face or put it into your nose or whatever it is you're thinking of. Just take crab, apple, gentian, and mimulus immediately. Take it again 15 minutes later, take it again 15 minutes later, and you'll be fine. And she rang up at the end of the day, I'm feeling so much better. So people were going a little crazy at that time. There was so much loneliness, and yes, of course, people who were living alone were definitely feeling that more. But I have found my clients who were living in families, joint families as well, feeling just acutely lonely because they said, we don't know who to talk to about our fear. When we talk to people about our fears, they tell us, keep quiet, you're just behaving this way, you're that. So they were being negated. And they started feeling very, very lonely. When you feel lonely, when you feel unnurtured or unloved or uncared for, which a lot of people in the pandemic were feeling, heather is a wonderful Bach flower remedy for this. I don't know whether it was Dr. Rupa or Dr. Kalpa who spoke about hope. I think it was Kalpa who spoke of hope. And that is so, so true, Kalpa, that hope that there is a better tomorrow. That is the one thing that can take you through any situation, leave alone a pandemic. Life is about ups and downs. We enjoy a roller coaster. We pay a lot of money and stand in a long line to get onto that roller coaster and scream our guts out, and we enjoy it. Life is that roller coaster. And you have to know that that ride will come to an end. And you cannot give up on hope. And so many people had just given up. And even today, I am dealing with clients who are saying, I don't want to dress up anymore. Forget it now. I don't want to wear my shoes. I think I'm just going to throw my shoes away. I heard someone say, you know what, after the pandemic, I don't want to tuck my shirt into my trousers. Just let it be out. Why? Why have you given up on yourself? Why have you given up on life? So for that, there are two remedies that would work very, very well, and that is gorse and wild rose. This apathy and the lack of drive, the lack of motivation that this pandemic has brought, only because it has lasted for so long. Just 2 days ago, someone was telling me, it's again in London is bad, Singapore is bad, Russia is bad, maybe it will come to India all over again. And I said, maybe it will. But while you are here right in this moment, right here, right now, you can go out, you can enjoy yourself. Why don't you enjoy this moment instead of thinking what will happen 8 months down the line? So that mindfulness that Kalpa spoke of in the here, in the now, this moment is brought about by gorse and wild rose. There was also another thing that I saw in this pandemic, and that was huge anger issues. I mean, the impatience and the intolerance had reached new heights. And this I'm not only talking about within the family circle. Personal friends, people I know on a very, very good basis who I have never seen this side of. They would talk about the government and this politician and that policeman and this businessman, and there was criticism and there was anger and there was, why can't they save us from this? And it had reached heights that really took me aback. And for those people, I was recommending impatience, wine, and beach. These three as a combination are excellent to remove anger, impatience, and intolerance. Another thing very closely akin to this was in families, and this really a client of mine opened my eyes to. She said, you know, Elle, all these years, my husband has been out working. He comes home at 10 o'clock, is out again by 10:30, wakes up at 9:30 in the morning, is out by 10:30. The rest of the day, I had the home to myself. I ran it in the way I wanted to, the way my kids were, everything. Now he is at home and everything has to be his way. It's his way or the highway. He's telling me how to cook, how not to cook. He's telling me what to do to the kids and what not to do to the kids. He's telling me how to run my home and how not to run my home. And she was getting completely frustrated and said, please give me something for my husband. I can't live with this man. He's gone crazy. There is nothing that I can do which he does not criticize. So I told her to give him vervain. This is for those people who want things their way. Everything that they say is right. Everything that another says is wrong. Vervain works ideally on those people. I spoke to you earlier about doctors who have been calling me. And the first time a very close friend of mine approached me, I was kind of surprised because he's a very leading surgeon and he's always poo-pooed bark remedies. And as he says, it's all this that you do, whatever this is supposed to mean. But it's basically, you know, it's all a hoax. And when I got a call from him to say, I need help. Doctors were living away from their families. Doctors were living in fear of their lives. Doctors were working for 3 days, 4 days, non-stop in those PPE suits, sweating buckets. No one was wondering, excuse me, what is this doctor? What is this nurse? What is this paramedic? What is the ambulance driver going through? And one after the other, I had people in the medical fraternity reaching out to me to say, help, I need help for my emotional state. And they were being put on to bark flower remedies consistently. Every week, the remedies would change depending on what they were going through at that time. But the two remedies that were consistent were oak and olive. Oak is for someone who is just overburdened with duties and responsibilities, and they just have to do it without thinking about what am I going through. The medical fraternity had left their own lives aside. I know an ex-student of mine, both doctors, father and son. The father died of COVID, treating patients. In less than a week, the son was back at work. Now, this is what you need support for them. And oak and olive just resuscitates the system. It brings it back to a state of recovery and wellness, physical recovery, physical wellness. So a lot of the medical fraternities, a lot of the caregivers were being given oak and olive by me. Another very unique aspect that I faced from my clients was a huge sense of guilt. A guilt of why am I fine? Why is XYZ not fine? Why is my job flourishing in the pandemic, but this person has lost his job. And people started feeling guilty for the blessings that they had. So not only was gratitude something that I put them on, but they were also put on a very, very important bark flower called pine, P-I-N-E. It's a wonderful bark flower for guilt. And because of that guilt, they would refuse to say no to anything that was asked of them. To the fact that they were not sleeping themselves because they were taking on so much. Anyone would say, do this for us, they would say yes. So in order to help them to say no without being guilty, so it was a combination of pine and centauri. You know, Daryl, bark is very simple to take. It comes either as liquid or it comes as tiny homeopathy pills. So for the children, I always say give them the homeopathy pills. They love the sweet pills. They always tell their parents, give me Auntie's sweet pills. And that works for them. But for adults, I prescribe the liquid. You can put about 5 or 6 drops of each liquid into half a glass of water. And then just have that water. That makes it 1 dose, and you have 5 or 6 such doses. Another way you can actually have bark also is by applying it. So it depends on which chakra or which organ, which emotion, you can apply it on those points. Dr. Rupa mentioned about how it was difficult to get the remedies because things were shut. And that's exactly what my clients faced. The homeopathy pharmacies they were getting their remedies from were shut. So what I told them is chant the names or write the names.
Okay.
Bark is vibrational medicine. And you know, that is why bark flower remedies have often been completely denigrated by some people. In fact, if you go onto the net, you'll find many, many websites telling you that bark flower remedies are a complete hoax. Because when they test it in a lab, all they find is the carrier liquid. They have not bothered to understand that the carrier liquid holds the energy, the vibration, the essence of the flower. And that you can't test under a microscope.
Yes, they're measuring instruments. Yeah, they're measuring instruments cannot pick up the energy, and that's the main thing.
Not at all. So if it is only energy and you are not getting the bark, I said just chant the name, just write the names of the remedies, write it on your wrist, write it on the chakra. And it was working fabulously because it is pure vibration. So you see, you can work with vibrational medicine in so many different ways. And bark is so innocent and without any side effects. You can add it to a newborn baby's milk. You can add it to your food and eat it. In fact, those who come to me like alcoholics, I will say, first take that bark and add it to your whiskey bottle. Don't stop the whiskey because you're not going to be able to do that just now. Add the bark to your whiskey bottle. And it's amazing how it doesn't take a short time. It takes an extended period because addiction comes from a very deep space, which we also have to heal. But they want to then stop drinking because each time they're drinking, they're also consuming the bark remedies. So it's just, and the joy of bark is that once you learn it, you can practice it on your own. You can help people, you can help your family. You don't need to go to a therapist. You don't need to go to a doctor. the whole aspect of Bach remedies for Dr. Bach is make it a self-empowerment tool. And it truly is that, self-empowerment.
Lovely, Ellaeenah. Thank you so much for all the detail and especially for the remedies relating to the different, emotional traumas that people are going through. I work with a little with some flowers, but at a very basic level, not this advanced science. So I do it through herbal teas. And people now who have been suffering from anxiety, insomnia, I have a range, and I say if you don't get it from me, you get it from anywhere, good quality organic one. So for anxiety, insomnia, I've been and for better sleep and even for high blood pressure, I've been asking people to have the lavender tea and the chamomile tea. And those who have any of the cough cold symptoms, it was this lemongrass tea and ginger tulsi ginger tea. So
Yeah.
I've been doing my little basic over there.
Yeah.
But really wonderful to hear about how the energy of flowers itself is can be taken in these many amazing ways. In between, I was just chatting with one of our attendees, Dr. Paula Horan. Maybe you'll have heard of her, and she just
Of
mentioned
course.
that she is an expert in EFT, and I just asked her to come into the panel and share with us a few, for this
Yes.
time of stress and trauma. She had developed a specific tapping technique, and I'm sure people on this webinar, if they could get some value for that. So I
Yeah.
just brought in Dr. Paula. She could give us some. Yes, I've been, since it's about 7, 8 years that I learned EFT the first time, and it's really wonderful for emotional trauma and stress,
Yeah.
fear, anxiety, phobia. So
So, Daryl, I use EFT by chanting the names of Bach flower remedies.
Okay. And just something that crossed my mind. You see, when they're chanting the name of the flower, is it a good idea if they can have a picture of the flower in front of them, just bring it out from the
Of
net?
course, if they want to, if it makes them feel that, okay, I can relate better, yes, but it's not necessary.
Okay. Hello, yes, Dr.
Oh, now
Paula,
you can see
somewhere
me.
out in the village. Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
So lighting is not too good. Good evening, Dr. Paula.
How are you?
Doing well, thank you.
I've enjoyed everybody's presentation. Thank you so much. Very nice. I've used the Bach flower myself, and everybody's been giving really good information, and also Rupa's information was quite fascinating in learning how to use flowers without having to even destroy them. That's really a very nice thing, just to directly take the energy out of them. Yeah. So anyway, I spoke with Daryl, and one of the things I wanted to share that I thought might be helpful with this particular topic is the fact that the key thing that has been used against humanity in this whole COVID show is fear. Fear has been played on humanity in the worst way. And so one of the things that I have addressed I developed a way of teaching EFT online over the last year. Initially, I was very skeptical about teaching. I don't like teaching online, but I developed a way to do it in 3 weekends and then have them do 4 sessions. And my main focus is always to help people take the key traumas from between birth and age 7, because we know that the personality of every human being is formed from the point of the very beginning in utero all the way up to about age 7. And aside from that, the key issues is to clear our mommy daddy stuff. And when we clear that takes care of basically any relationship issues in the marriage as well. Now, to address the specific issue of what comes up, as all of the fine presenters have mentioned tonight, fear is the key one. And of course, the biggest fear always is fear of death. And of course, the fear of death has been really used against humanity, and creating the fear of COVID and the fear of yeah, of the virus. And then what's the second one? I have to think. It's hard for me to think. I'm catching up on rest. I've just come out to the countryside. But anyway, what I want to share with everybody tonight, rather than giving a long talk or anything like that, is to just lead people through a special a special EFT protocol for completing emotion. Now, one of my colleagues, I used to have a show for about 2.5 years in the States with a lot of really top EFT trainers, and we each had our own theme. Like one of my dear friends, Stacy Bornbrook, is renowned for her work with sports stars in the US. And she's done a lot of brain research. And one of the things she discovered is that once we can tap someone clear of really heavy trauma, sometimes the main focus or the main emotion that came out during that trauma doesn't always go completely. And so what she created was really quite amazing. It's a 21-day protocol. You do this, it only takes 5-10 minutes every day. And you can complete that. Like, for example, if somebody's been through a very difficult period in their life, and like say the death of a loved one, or the death of a relationship, you know, and in a divorce or something like that, and there's a lot of anger, and this person kept regurgitating anger in their mind. With this protocol, you can, and it's free on my website, by the way. If you go on paulaharan.org and you look up the EFT section, you'll find a free protocol on how to complete anger on a cellular level. And what I did is I took the same protocol and I made it into completing fear on a cellular level. And that's the one I'm going to take you through. In fact, I just adjusted it today for this show. And I'm going to just take everybody through it. And if you take this, and Daryl, we can put this up on AIM if you like, because if people repeat this 21 days in a row, they'll take out fear, which is really important right now. So yeah,
Sure,
I just want to, huh?
Yes, surely we can do it.
Yeah, so yeah, I just want to mention that. So I'll somehow be able to figure a way to email it too. Yeah, but
do we need to see your hands now? Because
yes, you will. You will. In fact,
to,
I'm just going to, for people who don't know EFT, basically what EFT is in a nutshell, EFT is a way of, you could say, clearing out emotions with acupressure. So it's almost like emotional acupressure, but without pressing on a point or even using needles. Instead, what we do is we tap on the key meridians. And the way this works is it's like, there are certain points that, in other words, most of us think, when we think of memory, we think of everything stored in the brain, but it's not just stored in the brain. For many years, I did a lot of emotional point work with my advanced students, and I would teach my students how to look at a body, look at the posture, and see exactly where the emotions are stored, and how to actually go in and press the points. In fact, you know, to bring out those emotional memories. And my work has always been focused on bringing out not just memories from this life, but karmic memory from many past lives. And the last 10 years, you know, first 20 years between 1990 and about 2009, I worked primarily in India because Papaji, my guru, wanted me to, she said, you were born in a Western body, but you came here to train in Asia. And a lot of my work seemed to phase out towards about 2008, 2009. And then all of a sudden, I got this invitation to China. Well, first to Taiwan and then to China. And so I taught there for 10 years. And I started doing EFT a lot more in my work because there's so much trauma that poor Chinese have been through in the last 100 years. It's unbelievable. And a lot of my work was with people who'd been severely traumatized in the Cultural Revolution. But what I want to show you is the points. The first point is the top of the head, okay? So to find it very precisely, you just start with, you do 4 finger widths from the point right between the eyebrows, and then do another 4 finger widths and another 4 finger widths. And where that last finger, your pointer ends, that's the very top of the head, okay, the top of the central channel, it's called. So that's the first point. Then the second point is side of eye, and it's just outside, just feel the end of the bony structure of the eye socket on the outside of the side eye socket on the side is side of eye. Then under eye is right below the pupil on the zygomatic arch. Then just below in the cleft of the nose. So here I'm using two fingers, under eye, 2 fingers. Now 1 finger just in the cleft under the nose, 1 finger chin, in the cleft of the chin, right in the middle of the cleft of the chin. Then there's a collarbone point. And to find that, what you do is just feel along your collarbone until you just come to the ends of the collarbone, with these lumpy bumps right here. Just roll your fingers under those to the hollow spot, and that's the collarbone point. And you can do left to right. Now in EFT, you don't need to do both sides of the body. You can, if you're right-handed, generally people do the right side of the body. If you're left-handed, you do the left side, whatever's convenient. So anyway, that's collarbone point. Then there's 1 point under the armpit, and what you do is you line your fingers up, put your pointer in right under the armpit, and where the pinky finger falls is the underarm point, and that is for women, for example, right in the middle of the bra strap, but for men, 4 finger widths below. And then one that I use a lot is the heart. That's not a official EFT point, but I use it because I've used it in point work for 30 years. And yeah, so that's a very important one, heart. And then the wrists. There's a lot of finger points. I'm not going to teach them today, but this is the shortcut for the finger points. And this is for all the emotional issues of the body. And that's, you just crisscross your wrists and then hit them right up, hit each other against the wrist, the inside of the wrist. That's it. So let's begin. Now, in EFT, when we're dealing with clearing any issue, we usually take that issue. I'll interview the person at length for about half an hour, and then I turn everything they've told me and I regurgitate it at them in 3 long sentences. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start with 3 short sentences, actually, because again, this is a protocol to do for 20 days in a row to clear, to complete fear. And what we do is we do that first 3 sentences on what's called the karate chop point. And the karate chop point is located, you can see at the beginning of my pinky finger is that last bony structure here. And right between the wrist and that bony structure, right halfway where you see martial artists hitting boards or whatever to split them, that's the karate chop point. So, and don't do it very hard. Don't bang it hard. Just really lightly will do the trick. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide the phrases up into easy to remember, and then you just repeat after me. So I will say every phrase twice. So the second time I'm saying it, you're saying it with me. The first time you hear it, and then I say it again so you can follow me. So let's begin. Any questions about the protocol, the basic method? Thank you.
Yeah. No, Paula, I think once you go through it, then
I think everybody's got it.
Yeah,
just
so
follow.
let's go with
I'm
it.
going to model it right here. So beginning on the karate chop point, just repeat after me. So even though after 2 years of being programmed by the mainstream media, after 2 years of being programmed by the mainstream media to be in fear of COVID,
Fear of COVID.
so that I would agree to be injected, with an experimental gene therapy, which they never tell us, killed all animals in 20 years of animal trials. My cells are now addicted to the chemical of fear. And I can't get enough of this chemical. Even so, I totally and completely love and accept myself. Even though my cells are addicted to the chemical of fear, from all the stress of the lockdown has caused, and I now have to have my fix of fear my fix of fear on a regular basis, I totally and completely love and accept myself. Love and accept myself. Even though my cells are addicted to the chemical of fear, even though my cells are addicted to the chemical of fear, the fear that I won't keep my job, the fear that I won't keep my job, I won't be able to get my subsidized quota. I won't be able to get my subsidized quota of food rations, provided by the government, or be able to finish my studies, or travel if I don't get vaccinated, or travel if I don't get vaccinated. Every cell is addicted to this fear. Every cell is addicted to this fear. And my body feels uncomfortable, if I don't get a regular fix of fear, And even so, I totally and completely love and accept myself. Okay, now we start doing all the other head points. Eyebrow. Every cell is addicted. Side of eye. My body feels uncomfortable. If I don't get my hit of fear. Under eye. Every cell craves fear. Under nose. Without fear, I no longer feel normal. Chin. I have no control over getting fearful. Collarbone. I can be feeling great. And feel fear over the slightest thing. Underarm. That's because my brain has neuronodes that crave the fear. Top of head. My cells can't live without this fear. But I can choose to interrupt. This craving for fear. Wrists. My cells can't live without this fear. But I can choose to interrupt. This craving for fear. Eyebrow. Every time I become fearful, I satisfy my cellular craving. Every time I become fearful, I satisfy my cellular craving. Side of eye. Although I try to interrupt the process, I'm holding the addiction to fear. In all of my muscles. Under eye. I'm holding this addiction to fear. In all of the tendons. Under nose. I'm holding this addiction in all of my joints. Chin. I'm holding this addiction to fear in all of my bones. I'm holding this addiction to fear in all of my bones. Collarbone. I'm holding this addiction in my cartilage. Underarm. I'm holding this addiction to fear. In all of my tissues. Top of head. I'm holding this addiction in all of my nerves. Wrists. I'm holding this addiction to fear. In the cells of my body. Eyebrow. I'm holding this addiction to fear in all of my fascia. In all of my fascia. Side of eye. I'm holding this addiction in all of the membranes. In all of the membranes. Under eye. I'm holding this addiction to fear in all the cells of the skin. Under nose. I'm holding this addiction in the fluids of my body. I'm holding this addiction in the fluids of my body. Chin. I'm holding this addiction to fear in all the organs of my body. In my spleen, pancreas, stomach, liver and gallbladder, the bladder, lungs, and in my intestines, I'm holding fear in my sexual organs. I'm holding fear in my sexual organs. Collarbone. I'm holding this addiction. I'm holding this addiction in all the cells of my heart. In all the cells of my heart. Underarm. I'm holding this addiction to fear. I'm holding this addiction to fear in all the cells of the kidneys, in all the cells of the kidneys, which is negating my natural propensity, to gentleness, the opposite of fear, Top of head. I'm storing this fear in all the neural pathways of my brain. I'm storing this fear in all the neural pathways of my brain. Once again, wrist. I'm storing this fear in all the neural pathways of my brain. I'm storing this fear in all the neural pathways of my brain. Eyebrow. I'm holding this addiction to fear in every cell of my eyes. I'm holding this addiction to fear in every cell of my eyes. Side of eye. I'm holding this addiction to fear in every cell of my ears. I'm holding this addiction to fear in every cell of my ears. Under eye. I'm holding this addiction to fear in every cell of my mouth and taste buds. I'm holding this addiction to fear in every cell of my mouth and taste buds. Under nose. I'm holding this addiction to fear in all the cells of my nose and smell. I'm holding this addiction to fear in all the cells of my nose and smell. Chin. I'm holding this addiction in the cells of my sense and touch. I'm holding this addiction in the cells of my sense and touch. Collarbone. I'm holding this addiction to fear throughout my entire body. I'm holding this addiction to fear throughout my entire body, including my energy system, Underarm. I'm holding this addiction in the thought patterns of my mind. I'm holding this addiction in the thought patterns of my mind. Top of head. I'm holding this addiction to fear in all the resistance patterns of my past karma. I'm holding this addiction to fear in all the resistance patterns of my past karma. And I'm forgetting that I attracted these situations in the first place, Wrist top. The energy pattern of my aura craves fear. Every aspect of my energy body craves fear. Every aspect of my energy body craves fear. I give my body permission to let go. I give my body permission to let go. My cell receptors can let go of this craving for fear. My cell receptors can let go of this craving for fear. I give my body permission to let go of this addiction to fear. I give my body permission to let go of this addiction to fear. In all the cell receptor sites, I'm helping my cells let go of this need for fear. I'm helping my cells let go of this need for fear. Eyebrow. Today I choose to let go of my addiction to fear. Today I choose to let go of my addiction to fear. Side of eye. I choose to turn off the major mass media. I choose to turn off the major mass media and all of their brainwashing hype. Under eye. I choose to minimize my use of the cell phone. I choose to minimize my use of the cell phone. Under nose. And let go of the dopamine addiction. Which makes me cling to it. Chin. Using common sense. I can see these last 2 years. Collarbone. Have been a ploy to scare humanity into getting vaccinated, and into lockdown, to wipe out the middle class, Underarm. So the Davos group can work their genocidal plan, to kill off most of humanity, and finally crash the banking system. Heart. Instead, I choose to use this opportunity Instead, I choose
choose
to use
to
this
use
opportunity, heart, I'm tapping on my heart,
Yeah,
to remake myself,
to remake myself,
to join others of like mind and heart, to join
join
others of
others
like
like
mind and
and
heart, to live simply, and become self-sufficient,
and become self-sufficient.
top of head. Instead of wallowing in fear,
Instead of wallowing in
fear, I choose to stand up to this tyranny.
I choose to stand up
to this tyranny with gentle heart,
with gentle heart
and fierce determination,
and fierce
determination to help make the needed shift on this planet, to help make the
needed
needed shift
shift
on this planet. Now some Ho'oponopono to end. Eyebrow. So to those I owe karmic debt. So for those I owe karmic debt, I say sorry.
I say
Side
sorry.
of eye.
I say sorry.
Side of eye. I'm truly sorry. I'm truly sorry. Under eye. I'm sorry for whatever I did to you. I'm sorry for whatever I did to you. In any lifetime, which caused you to treat me this way, which caused you to treat me this way. Under nose, please forgive me. Please forgive me. Chin, please forgive me.
Please forgive.
Collarbone, I love you. I love you. Heart, I love you.
I love you.
Wrists, and I feel this love for you. And I feel this love for you in all beings, in all the cells of my body, in all the cells of my body. Top of head, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Eyebrow, thank you.
Thank you.
Side of eye, thank you that we
Thank you.
complete this karma now. Thank you that we complete this karma now.
Thank you that
Now
we complete this karma now.
Place your middle finger, press it on the third eye, and we're going to take 3 deep sighs. Ah,
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 ah.
ah.
You can hold that. Ah, thank you.
Thank
you do
you.
that-
Thank you.
So if you
Dr.
do that for
Kapla.
21 days, it'll be gone. And I really recommend the one on anger, because I know one of you mentioned tonight so aptly that anger has been a big one coming up for people. It's a big one in everyone, even before the pandemic. So the Plandemic. So
Thank you, Dr. Paula. That was such an interesting, EFT routine, and yeah, I hope everybody practices it. Uses their own words and the aspects
right,
of
exactly.
fear.
You don't have to use my words at all. Whatever.
Right.
And basically, I just want to point this out. In EFT, it's important to say all the negatives. I know that Kapla, and very aptly, talked about the importance of positive affirmations. But quite frankly, what I've seen in 40 years of my work is that it's best to get all the negatives out first, then you do the positives. And this is what EFT does for you. Don't be shy. You must be truthful when you do EFT. You must say all the negative stuff you think. Whatever's going through your mind must be stated out loud so the subconscious hears it. And it doesn't actually reinforce it, because when you're tapping the ends of the meridians, you're cleaning out. We don't know which meridian a negative thought is held in. So what you do is you tap every one of them, and all the ones I've just mentioned are all of them. And there's not that many. So when you do all the negatives on you, at some point you hit it, and you'll know, because you start to feel empty. You know it's gone because you feel empty. So when you feel empty, you ask yourself, you get really quiet, you say, what's still there? And whatever is still there that's negative will bubble up, and then you tap it on all the points. That's the secret. And you just keep doing it.
Lovely,
thank you so much, Daryl.
Yes,
and thank you,
Dr.
ladies.
Paula.
It was wonderful listening to each one of you. Really precious information. Thank you.
Yes. So I will get on to the questions. The first is from Jokita for Dr. Rupa. Dr. Rupa, can you give some examples of Indian flowers you use for healing? For example, any allergy or a fever?
Thank you for that question. So we don't say like this is the flower for allergy or this is the flower for fever. We are more into the mind and emotions in alignment with the body. So there can be, say, a flower definitely for your immune system, that may have effect also on your allergy. So let's put, there is a flower called as neem tree is there. It has got tiny white flowers. There's another one called as bougainvillea. There's a drumstick. So all these different flowers are there. We look at the mental and emotional component. Then also the allergy is taken into consideration. More attention is paid at what is at the mind and emotional level, and then select a remedy. We don't select a remedy just because somebody has allergy. We also look at the root of it and then select a remedy, a flower, which is going to address at the mental and emotional level. The physical body is only a reflection of what's up in the mind and emotions. So just to name a few flowers, we have all these different flowers like reddish flowers, or we have swallowwort, which is for fears in the mind, or we have, as I mentioned, ashok, or we have lotus. So all these different flowers are there for different mind and emotional status. You can have a look at it. But I usually take a full history of the patient, then decide the profile, and then try to help not a symptom or a condition, but the entire person, which is the holistic approach.
Okay, doctor. Thank you. And there's a second question. Can you preserve these remedies over a period of time?
Correct. So these remedies can be preserved if we just make it in water. Then we use it for 3 to 6 months. But if there is alcohol added to it, it can be stored up to even 20, 25 years. There is no problem.
Wow.
You can preserve the energy. That's how we also preserve the energy of the flower.
Okay. And the last question for you, Dr. Rupa. Can you provide us links or books or suggestions to learn about healing through flowers? Could you give any details of your flower remedies delivered?
Yes. So we have a website. My own website is drrupashah.com. There is also another one called as omhimalaya.com. That is AUM. Om is the brand of the Indian flower remedies, which lists all the different flowers and what they are good for. And there is a course, online course that I have now designed, and I'm going to release it on 28th of November. That is just this month, which is only about what are the flower remedies, like a basic introduction and a little bit of introduction to the flower remedies across the world, and a little bit on Indian flowers as well. So if you all want to, then I'm all there on various social medias, Instagram and Facebook. So if you just kind of go and connect with me over there, then you'll come to know about the next event on just on flower remedies, Indian flower remedies.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Rupa. That question was from Kishan. And there's a question for Ellaeenah from Jogita. Are bark flower remedies similar to Indian flower remedies as shared by Dr. Rupa?
So to be very honest, today was the first time I've heard of the Indian flower remedies from Dr. Rupa, and extremely interesting. And a lot of what Dr. Rupa has spoken seems almost exactly what, the way the remedies are stored, the way the remedies are kind of collected, how they are given as liquids. So there seems to be a lot of correlation and a lot of similarities. But of course, the flowers are different according to the geography of the place. And that makes sense to me. Dr. Rupa is in India, Dr. Bach was in England. But nature has similar patterns of energy running through it, and so yes, it's just looking at one side of the coin or the other side of the coin remains the same.
Yes, even the moment I heard that, when you said that the dewdrops falling from the flowers, so it also was the same thing where they put the water on the flowers. So I saw that similarity
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
There's another question. Can you share a few tips for parents of teenagers suffering from depression and suicidal thoughts and low self-esteem?
Yeah, well, one thing to understand is that depression is not a feeling, it's a suppression of feeling. So when people complain of depression, I always look at what is the root cause of the depression. What is it they like, for example, when I first came to India 30 years ago, a lot of the common things common thing I dealt with was depression in women. And usually it was because, for example, maybe you had a woman who was from a liberal household who got married into a very conservative one, and then she couldn't really be herself. And so she couldn't really express herself fully the way she wanted to. And so she had to suppress herself, and that made her very depressed. And so what I would do in a case like that, for example, is I would have the woman express outwardly using EFT as a tool, because it dissolves these depressions so quickly. I would have her say out loud all the complaints she has. And especially in the case of an adolescent, one of the key things that's happening now is, unfortunately, is these teenagers have been brought up at a time where it was really fine to go after a university education, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden, these things are not going to be pertinent anymore in our world. Certain things are pertinent to study, but the key thing is we need to get out of the cities. We need to simplify our lives. We need to learn to grow our own foods. We have to completely shift gears. And it's just such a shock to these young people who've been geared in one way, and it's hard to shift them into a whole other way of being. And so the best thing I would do is to help them tap all of their frustrations, whatever the frustrations are, whether it's not seeing their friends, whether it's missing school, not knowing what to do, being totally confusion is huge, not knowing what to do. And so all of the things is to have them tap all the negative thoughts that they're having until that one's gone, they feel peaceful. Then you ask them what's still there, and then you tap that one. You just keep having them tap all the negative thoughts that they've been having, whether it's confusion. Confusion is a big one. I'm confused, I'm confused, I'm confused. All the negatives. And once they're gone, they feel a whole lot better, a whole lot lighter. Because again, depression is not a feeling, it's a suppression of feeling.
Yes,
and so you got to bring up the suppressed feelings to be stated. That's my advice.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Paula.
So Darryl, may I add here?
Yes.
So for depression, you really have to talk at length to either the child or to the parents or to the adult and see where the depression is actually coming from. There are so many different layers to the depression, and then you have to work with those layers before that person is freed of the depression. But for something like low self-esteem, for a child, for an adult, anyone, low self-esteem, the combination is gentian and large. It works very, very well. And when there is low self-esteem, there's always, you will find that our thoughts are very confused. We are unable to really think rationally. We kind of take in everything other people are saying and we make them our truth. We do not have the ability to voice our own truth. So along with larch and gentian, you can add Serato, which is for self-assertion and self-expression. And you can also add white chestnut. White chestnut helps you to stop overthinking, stop thinking very negative thoughts. So these four work very well.
Yes, thank you so much, Ellaeenah, for that. A couple of questions for Dr. Rupa's Instagram handle. And I just want to tell the audience, she has put all her details in the chat box. So you'll see her website there, her Instagram handle. Also, Dr. Rupa in the chat box has mentioned on 20th November, they're having an event on Webinar Jam. So those of you present today who want to, connect with that webinar, please go to Dr. Rupa Shah's website. I'm sure it's going to be mentioned there. So I think we're done with all the questions. Any further, winding up comments from our panelists? Please do mention.
So I'd just like to end here saying, Carol, yes, it's been a tough time. And yes, the coming years also may be a little tough because, close on the heels of what we've gone through, we are also seeing financial difficulties. But don't lose heart. 2022 is the year of hope, and there is hope. You have the ability to create your own reality. Do not allow the media, do not allow others to influence your reality. Of course, be wise, and you have to read and you have to make your own judgments. You can't be blind or blinkered, but don't allow people to color who you are. Stay strong in yourself. Know that you are empowered. Know that you can create the kind of reality you want. And yes, we are all human beings. At some time you will be angry, at sometimes you will feel grief, at sometimes you will be scared. But there are a whole array of methods that you can use, whether it's EFT, whether it's Ho'oponopono, whether it's talk therapy with a psychologist, whether it's Bach flower remedies. There are things available for you. Don't give up on yourself and don't give up on life. You are precious and you are here on earth for a very important reason. So feel that power in yourself.
Thank you so much.
I'd like to say ditto to what she just said. It's absolutely true. And another, just one little thought to add to this is that we are at an end of a huge era. Humanity has been enslaved for not just decades or centuries, but eons. And this is what's coming. What's happening now is an unveiling of some really nasty things that humanity has been going through and doesn't even realize. And now what's happening is we're just seeing it in our face, what's actually been done to us for centuries. We can't hide from it anymore. It's in our face. All of what the Davos group has been doing to us, it's just right there. And we have to face it and take responsibility and bring it all down. And that's what's happening. Like at the end of World War II, when the Nazis were in the Nuremberg trials, we're going to see trials like we've never seen before, of crimes against humanity that are just, it's unbelievable for the average human to even comprehend. And so there's a lot that we're going to have to take in. I feel like I need to say this. So all the tools that we've talked about tonight, the Bach flower remedies and this wonderful new form of flower remedies that Rupa talked about, and the whole outline that Kapla gave, and also the EFT that I've shared with you, are all powerful tools that each of us can use at this particular time. Each one, as some of the others have said, each person has more of an interest of going one way or the other. But basically, one thing I can say these all have in common is that these are all forms of energy medicine. And this is the new medicine of the future, is energy medicine. And nutritional, it's nutritional medicine is the key. Eating right, we won't even need medicine. But when we need medicine, it's going to be energy medicine, whether it's Bach flower, homeopathy, the frequencies I use on my PEMF machine or in my orgone generator, or Reiki. I mean, I'm mostly known for Reiki actually, as well as EFT. So all of these are about frequencies. And what we have to understand is one of the key things we have to do is bring down the 5G. 5G was brought in to kill us, and that's got to be taken down. And the vaccinations and the old form of medicine, we can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. We know that allopathic medicine is great. If you're in a car accident and you need to be stitched up, they do the best work. But internal medicine is not that great. And doctors have been mistaught, and everybody's learning that now, that there isn't even such a thing as a virus in the context we've been told for 100 years. The truth is we're 10 to 20% human RNA and DNA, and 80% of us is made up of bacteria, viruses, and fungi. So viruses are our friend. It's what we're made of. They're not an enemy. And these viruses come out in little bits and pieces, you know, when we detoxify, the way Rupa described it, you know, when the interstitium, when the poisons go into the interstitium and into interstitial fluid, what comes out is these fragments of viruses. But the viruses are not the disease, it's the poison that's making it come out. And everyone here I know in this little group gets that, you know. And so medicine has to be turned around now. Everything. We have been lied to in science, lied to about our history, lied to about medicine, lied to about everything. And the truth is now coming out. And we have brilliant people on our planet to bring that out. And some of the ladies here are some of those people, just like Daryl is one of them. And so,
yes,
yeah, it's been fun
of,
this year. studying, learning such new things.
a lot of tapping due to, you know, to weed out all these lies and the trauma from them. I just have two questions that have come in from Jogita, from Ellaeenah. So the question is, do you have a workshop coming soon of bark flower remedies? And yes, so if you can let her know, or if you have already put
So
your
I've
website.
already put it.
Okay.
I've already put it up there that there's a bark workshop coming up. It's going to be a 2 or a 3 day workshop coming up in December, and you can contact me. I have put out my email there.
Okay. Okay. Kalpa, would you like to say something?
Yeah, I would like to say that we need to gain acceptance of ourselves and whatever has happened, our past events, but be very hopeful and optimistic about the future and be content in the present, be here and now. We should not lose, you know, our present just worrying about the future or regretting about the past. And each of us should try to maximize our strengths, you know, and live our life intentionally, design our own life, live it purposefully and intentionally. And of course, we have to make our mental and emotional health a priority. And whatever suits us, I'm not saying that everybody should run to a psychiatrist. Whatever remedy or whatever tool and technique suits us, we need to adopt that so that we develop strength and resilience to go through whatever comes our way. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kalpa. Yes, so I will wind up now, and big thank you to all our panelists today, and also to the audience for hanging in there. We had a wonderful session. I really enjoyed it. And we look forward to seeing all of our audience again tomorrow at the same time on the same webinar link, which is day 7 of the summit. The topic is pandemic distress response and communal harmony. So we're going to talk a little bit about a couple of groups who have been doing good work on the ground, and they will, you know, share what they've been doing, give you some ideas, and also invite you to be part of the movement by doing the similar thing in your area. Okay, so goodbye, everyone. God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you for.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Love to all.